Conditions May Apply by CinnamonPinecones. Read by Distracted by Books. Chapter 179. Unlikely Allies. Shota had never felt more numb than he did as he helped emergency responders load his unconscious students onto stretchers. Izuku was injured and kidnapped with an out-of-control stress manifest quirk evolution, and another one of his students was missing. Tiger and Kaminari had gone out and gotten the power running again, but Izuku's signal was offline. Shota hadn't been holding out hope for that, but it would have been nice. They were back at square one. His students could be anywhere. Where is he? That kid with the green hair! Where is he? Mandalay's little rugrat burst into the room, shouting frantically. Kota, please. Mandalay tried to calm him to no avail. Did they get him? He said it was going to be fine. He said... Were you with him? Shota asked without even meaning to. The child was clearly traumatized. He shouldn't be questioning him, but he was tired and desperate, and old habits die hard. When someone went missing, you retraced their last recorded moments. It was sound logic in most scenarios, but not when a teleportation quirk came into play. And you already knew who the perpetrator was. Yes, where is he? Did they take him? He said they needed him alive. Kota trailed off, looking haunted. Who said... No, I'm sorry. You don't need to answer that. Shota asked and immediately cut himself off. He shot Mandalay an apologetic look, but she was already looking at him with pity. He did his best not to bristle at that. The paramedic he had been helping rolled Yaoyorozu's stretcher away to the fleet of waiting ambulances. The red and blue lights bathed the night in color, and he took a deep breath to steady himself. He was going to need to call Zashi and tell them that Izuku was gone. Muscular. The kid answered the question he'd only half asked. He damn near broke his neck with how quickly he snapped back to attention. What? He asked frantically, forgetting for a moment that Izuku was reportedly up and fighting until the end. I was at my secret hideout, and the villain, he was going to kill me too, but that stupid idiot saved me, and they got him, didn't they? He said he was going to be okay. He said, Kota explained, breaking down into hysterics. I'm sorry, Eraser. Mandalay apologized as she knelt down and held Kota against her chest as he sobbed. Pixie Bob is with reinforcements getting him out of the mountain he's buried under. I don't know if she'll have more information, but you can ask. She's the one who found him while I was taking Kota back to base. Shoji, Todoroki, and Shinso had already told him Izuku's last accounted for moments, but apparently the injuries he had sustained before they saw him were from fighting Muscular. Of freaking course they were. That kid was lucky to be alive right now, wherever the hell he was. The students were packing up the bus, and Shota stood motionless, watching the ambulances out the window begin the caravan trip off toward the nearest hospital, until the spinning lights danced across his vision, even when he blinked. He needed to call Hizashi. Hizashi woke up to his wrist vibrating, something that always had him shooting up out from under the covers like a bat out of hell. With Shota being gone for the week, that's how he'd been waking up every morning. But usually he only ever used his watch alarm for emergency calls from Sho when he was on patrol, or citywide distress calls for all available heroes to report for duty. When Shota was home, he'd just wake them up when they needed to be up. But with him gone, the accursed vibrating watch was the only thing that did it. He took a second to rub the sleep out of his eyes and calm his frantic heart rate, but that didn't last long. When he went to pick up his phone, he realized it was a call from Shota that had woken him up at 12:38 a.m., not his morning alarm set for 7. He answered the call before he even had his hearing aids in, and hoped to God that Shota had just been missing his voice while he was away. Okay, I can hear now. What's going on? And please tell me it's not an emergency, he answered. Their hearts sank when there was nothing but silence on the other line. They would have assumed their hearing aid wasn't working, but they could hear the distant sounds of the city from the open window. Show? They prompted again. Everyone's alive, he answered. Though it didn't do much to calm them, he sounded completely wrecked. Baby, what happened? What's going on? They pressed, simultaneously trying to calm and get more answers. He heard shuffling on the other line and a door firmly shutting before Shota's breaths became ragged and panicked. The camp was attacked. They took him. Shota forced the words out. They were on their feet and throwing on appropriate clothes in a nanosecond. What? What do you mean? Izuku? They took Izuku? Who are they? When did this happen? He rapid fire questioned. The League. They attacked. God, like 2 hours ago, the power was cut and we had no signal. I'm sorry. His phone's gone offline. They got Bakugo too. And Shinso said I don't know what he was talking about with those premonitions, but Shinso said he stress manifested something. Slow down, Sho. I don't know what you're talking about. They cut off his rambling. Shota took a few deep breaths, and they were halfway out the door with their hero garb mostly in place and their directional speakers tucked under their arm before Shota calmed down enough to try again. Kurogiri was there. They had Bakugo, and Shinso saw the whole thing. Something came out of Izuku's hand and grabbed Bakugo. He tried to pull them both back, but he just pulled himself forward, and the portal shut behind both of them. It doesn't sound anything like his quirk, and neither did those premonitions he was talking about before. We need to talk to Yagi. Nedzu's probably going to call all staff for a meeting. Where are you going to be? I'm in the car. Where am I meeting you? They cut him off. They could call in to a meeting. Right now, Shota needed them wherever he was. There was some sort of sleeping gas. I'm going to be driving the conscious students to the hospital for a checkup. Shota replied, Okay, I'll be there as soon as I can, they assured, letting Shota return to their students. Incoming call from E.H. EY's eyebrows scrunched up in confusion, but she excused herself from the group and answered the call quickly. A call from Eraserhead couldn't be good news, could it? Been a while since I heard from you. It's nearly been a week. What gives? She answered nonchalantly, hoping her assessment of the situation was wrong. Can anyone overhear this conversation? Are you bugged? Anyone with a hearing quirk in close enough range? He asked, immediately shattering those hopes to bits. No, all of those situations are unlikely. Talk generally, though, 'cause I can't say for sure. I'm out, she replied. Do you remember the guy with burn scars in Uptown? Hard to forget. Why? I need to find him. Get as many eyes out as you can. If anyone sees him, do not engage. Just tell me where. I doubt he's still in Uptown. So if you have trusted contacts in other cities, spread the word. It's urgent. They have them. He wasted no time in explaining what he could, putting special emphasis on the last word. Wait, they have them? Like kidnapping? Who's they? Yes, and I can't answer that. I just need info, okay? Do not spread this information to anyone you don't trust with your life. I'm not even supposed to be telling you this, he stressed. Okay, as many eyes as possible, but only ones I trust with my life. Easy, I'll get right on that, she snarked back because she was panicking. EY, please. No, I got it. I get it. I'm sorry. Yeah, got it. On it. Good. She trailed off. What the frick was wrong with this kid? He's living in the hero's den and he still manages to get kidnapped? What the hell did they even kidnap him for? And who the hell was they? Was the Yakudo back? Thank you, Eraser replied, breaking her from her mental spiral. His voice sounded tired and defeated. Hey, quit pouting. They're going to give him hell. You'd do better worrying about those poor, unsuspecting villains, all right? She tried to reassure him like she had the last time the kid went MIA. She still had no clue what had happened last November, but Ivy was still alive and kicking afterwards, so she did her best to not dwell too much on it. She just barely caught a quiet, humorless huff of air from the other end of the line. Yeah, you're probably right. He agreed with no enthusiasm. I know I am. I'm always right. I'll keep you updated. Now go do whatever ninja spy shit you're supposed to be doing right now, she ordered. She heard another sigh from the other end of the line before he responded. Yeah, I'm on it. Stay safe, he said, and hung up. Jeez, what a mess. Ladies, let me know if you see Crispy running around. It's urgent, she ordered the group when she got back. She got a few raised eyebrows, but no one questioned her. She gave them all a grateful smile. Their conversation picked up where it had left off, but she wasn't listening anymore. They were going to find this damn kid. The bus ride into the city felt like it was over in the blink of an eye. Shota shuffled his students into triage and wished he could do a single damn thing about the haunted looks in their eyes. They were too young for this. Too young to lose a classmate, a friend. He knew all too well what that did to a developing mind, and yet he still couldn't help. He did his best to remain impassive while the students could see him. He'd had a little breakdown in the bathroom on the phone with Hizashi. But he needed to stay strong now. He checked in with the nurses about those who had been brought in by the ambulances and was relieved to learn that their vitals were stable. They still hadn't woken up, but more likely than not, they would be fine. Minutes ticked by slowly as he completed circuit after circuit, checking in with all of the students one by one. Uraraka had to get a few stitches, and it was determined that Shoji didn't need a blood transfusion, just some rest. The rest of the students had no respiratory issues and were cleared to leave, but no one's parents had gotten to the hospital yet, and they all ended up stuffed into Jiro and Yaoyorozu's room. It was well past visiting hours, but the staff was courteous enough not to say anything, and his students knew to get out of their way expediently if need be. Shoji and Uraraka took up 2 of the few chairs in the room, and everyone else was standing or sitting on the ground. No one talked much, and when they did, it was in hushed tones. Shota was standing guard by the door and letting them have their space when Hizashi came tearing down the hallway. He was glad to have elected to remain outside the room because they didn't hesitate to barrel into him in a bone-crushing embrace. They were breathing heavily, like they had run all the way here from Mustafa. He didn't say a word as he wrapped his arms around their middle for a few indulgent moments before pushing them away. Jiro and Yaoyorozu, as well as most of Class B, are still asleep. Everyone else has been cleared to leave, but he was cut off by the door slamming open. His reflexes were the only thing that saved Zashi from getting body slammed into him. Momo's up, and she's asking for you. Sorry, Ashido blurted out. They're all in there. He finished his sentence before following Ashido back into the room. Everyone clear the room and stay out of the staff's way, he instructed, pressing the call light on Yaoyorozu's bed. The moment that all of her classmates left the room, she looked at him with steely seriousness. Awase and I put a tracker on the Nomu, she announced, using her quirk to produce the receiver before he could tell her not to. She had just woken up from being knocked out by a mysterious gas and making heaven only knows how many gas masks for her peers. She needed to rest. Mike, shut the door, he instructed. The nurses can open it when they get here. He cut them off. What's going on? He asked after doing what Shota had told him to do. He'd been closer to the door and too far to hear her. Shota hoped that meant the students hadn't heard either, but Hizashi's hearing wasn't stellar even with his hearing aids. She tracked the Nomu. It's in Kamino Ward. He signed to Hizashi so that he could be positive they weren't overheard. Yaoyorozu, you beautiful genius, Hizashi answered with stars in their eyes. Yaoyorozu's cheeks turned bright red at the compliment. You did good work, Yaoyorozu, he agreed, doing his best to force his monotone to sound as grateful as he was. Everyone but Midoriya and Bakugo was here. Where... Are they okay? She asked, glancing over to Jiro, who was still out cold. There was a brief moment of tense silence before the nurses barged into the room. They're alive, was all he could say with honesty. She didn't need to be stressed out any more than she already was. They could tell her the full truth once the nurses looked her over. Katsuki watched Deku as he fought a losing battle against falling asleep. His head kept drooping down, but he'd snap it back up the moment it dropped and do another visual sweep of the room. His arms hurt like a bitch, but he wasn't about to show weakness in front of any of these guys. Why the hell Deku knew how to do stitches was another question added to the bottomless vat he had for the runt. But he bit his tongue. Deku told him no questions, and he'd get them out. Katsuki had no choice but to trust him. Just sleep. You're not going to get any more kidnapped than you already are, kid. The villain spoke up, seeming to have gotten sick of Deku's pathetic attempts to stay awake. You're a dick. Deku spat back groggily. And you look like you got hit by a truck. The villain shot back unfazed. It was a mountain. Deku mumbled back. What? Got hit by a mountain, not a truck. Deku spoke up more clearly. Well, in that case, do you want to go for a jog? The villain asked sarcastically. Screw you. Deku cursed him again, but there was no malice behind it. How the hell did they know each other, and why the hell were they so damn buddy-buddy? The questions were burning a hole through his brain, but he kept his mouth shut. Deku's head started dropping again, but this time it didn't stop until his chin rested against his chest. That was probably going to hurt like a bitch when he woke up. Anyone ever tell you you've got a glaring problem? The villain spoke up again, grabbing his attention. Anyone ever tell you got a skin problem, bacon boy? He spat back. You always this insufferable, or is this just a special case? Bacon boy asked, seemingly unaffected by the jab as he took a pack of cigarettes out of his pocket. He shook the last one out and lit it with his pointer finger, discarding the pack on the bar top as he took a drag. Katsuki did nothing to hide the disgusted look on his face as he scowled at the villain. Kid's still hooked on dare PSAs. The villain muttered under his breath. Why the hell did Shiggy think you'd work with us? 'Cause he's as stupid as he looks, he answered without hesitating. The villain huffed out a laugh just as the portal guy rematerialized behind the bar. Perfect timing. I'm out of cigs. Watch the brats, would you? He asked casually. Yes, of course, Dabi. The pretentious cloud agreed. Katsuki watched as he sauntered out of the door that Katsuki assumed was the exit, seeing as though everyone else stormed through the other door deeper into the building. Was he really going to follow Deku's plan? Was he going to help them get out of here? He had his doubts, but all he could do was wait and see. His life was in the hand of two psychopaths. End of chapter. Author's note for an updated schedule. I'm in the final stages of preparing for my wedding, so writing isn't really in the cards. Hasn't been for like a month and won't be for another month. Long story short, I'm taking another break and will be back November 12th. Thanks for reading and sticking around through the dumpster fire that has been my life for the last 6 months. Things are getting better. The end.